Hello and welcome, and it's a pleasure for me to welcome the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, to Stockholm, and here to Stockholm Exergy. And at this facility, 90% of the general district heating comes from renewable or recycled fuels. And Stockholm Exergy is one of many companies that put Sweden in the forefront of the green transition, and is also supported by the recovery plan here in Sweden. And all over Sweden, not at least up in the northern part of our country, we see a new green industrial revolution taking place with battery factories, green battery factories, fossil-free steel production, and new green standard for mining. And in the wake follow other companies, often innovative and fast-growing startups, creating thousands of new jobs now and also for the future. So with this development, we want to lead the way in the European Union and in the world, proving that the green transition goes hand in hand with strong growth and more jobs. And I appreciate our close cooperation with the Commission, not at least in the green and digital transformation, but also during the circumstances we're in right now, responding to Russia's war on Ukraine. And we are witnessing an increased Russian brutality in Ukraine and attacks on civilians and civilian infrastructure. And we see horrific images from Bucha and bombings of children's hospitals and reports of executions of civilians in Mariupol. We see a new dark chapter in European history. And there is clearly a time before and after February 24th and the Russia's invasion of Ukraine. That is unprovoked, illegal, and indefensible. And it's clear that the responsibility for the war is solely on President Putin and the Russian leadership. And our European response has been firm and united. And in record time and with a very hard work from the Commission, we have imposed sanctions against Russia that are more far-reaching and more advanced than almost any observer would have deemed possible. And together with partners, we're working to further isolate the Russian leadership. And we also, from a Swedish perspective, want to be very constructive in the discussions of the fifth sanction package of sanctions. We also remain committed to support Ukraine with humanitarian, financial, and military aid. And Sweden has already contributed with a total of 10,000 anti-tank weapons to Ukraine. But we have also increased humanitarian aid to Ukraine with 72 million euros. And we stand ready for further use of the European Peace Facility so that we European countries can continue to support Ukraine. We act in solidarity with Ukraine, but also in solidarity with our common values: international law, human rights, democracy, and the European security order. And the President and I agree that the intentional attacks on civilian population and civilian objects, it's a war crime. And the Russian violation of international law must be investigated, and those responsible will be brought to justice. And Sweden, we are supporting the International Criminal Court financially, but also with experts. The Russian invasion of Ukraine has made it even more urgent and necessary to become independent of Russian oil and gas. And we should speed up the climate work in order to cut our dependence. And it is clear that breaking our dependency on fossil fuel is important to fight climate change, but also to strengthen our common security. To do this, we have to secure the supply of renewable energy. We need to expand wind power and also recognize the importance of new green solutions based on bioenergy and forestry. And in doing this, we create sustainable societies with high growth, more jobs today and tomorrow. And here at Stockholm Exergy, where we are today, is just one good example how we can become independent of foreign Russian oil and gas and at the same time advance the green transition. And finally, I would like to thank the Commission for supporting our recovery plan. Those recovery plans will help the European Union to focus on green and digital transition. So thank you. Ursula,
thank you.
Please.
Thank you, Prime
Floor is
Minister,
yours.
dear Magdalena. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the very warm welcome. And indeed, you are so right. We are living through bleak times. Putin's ruthless war still rages in Ukraine, but our union stands very firmly with the brave people of Ukraine, be it with unprecedented sanctions against the aggressor, be it with financial support for Ukraine, but also through deliveries of military equipment and humanitarian support for people in Ukraine, or the fact that the European Union is now catering for 4 million refugees who had to leave their homes behind. The Ukrainian people deserve our solidarity. That's why I will travel to Kyiv tomorrow. I want to send a very strong message of unwavering support to the Ukrainian people and their brave fight for our common values. The atrocious war has now been going on for over a month. Our common European response to Russia's invasion in Ukraine has been strong, it has been swiftly, coordinated, and very determined. We have adopted with unprecedented speed, indeed, 4 sanctions packages, and the 5th is underway as we're speaking here, coordinated with our partners, the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada. Overall, we have now more than 40 countries that are aligning with our sanctions. And I want to thank you, dear Magdalena, for the ongoing support that we receive from you what the development of sanctions is concerned. But indeed, as you said, the crisis has also shed light on the dependencies that we have, and we have absolutely to get rid of them. The first one is the dependency on Russian fossil fuels. The European Commission will therefore, in a short time, mid-May, present a plan to phase out our dependency on Russian gas, oil, and coal. So it has 3 components. We have to diversify away from Russia towards reliable partners and suppliers, like, for example, the United States, Canada, or Japan. We have to strengthen our energy efficiency. That's a big topic. There's a lot of room to maneuver for increased energy efficiency and therefore save energy. And we have to invest massively in renewables. And here, of course, I know that I can count on Sweden's active role. As we all can see here, Sweden is a renewable energy pioneer. Renewables are bound to make up half of your country's energy mix by the end of the decade. That's amazing. So we have to learn a lot from you in this green transition. And this is why I'm particularly grateful for this invitation here to Exergy. It was fascinating for me to listen to the guided tour and to understand how this is a perfect circular approach towards district heating, a pilot project of carbon capture and storage. This is the future that we see right now here, with a quantum leap in energy production, and of course a huge potential not only for Sweden but for the whole of the European Union. I think it's fascinating, energy production that absorbs carbon instead of pushing it into the atmosphere and giving a boost to our plans to reach the climate neutrality by 2050. I know that Sweden has a more ambitious goal with 2045. So Exergy has chosen to base its production solely on renewable and recovered energy resources. And I was fascinated to hear that you have the potential to make Stockholm the world's first climate-positive capital city. So it's a fantastic and smart business decision. It's good for the planet, but it's also good as a strategic investment in our security of energy supply. In general, it's high time for our continent to build a more robust economy. First, because it has been weakened by 2 years of pandemic. We should not forget we're just getting out of the pandemic. And also because a strong, cohesive economy and a competitive industry with innovative technologies as we see it here today are invaluable assets in a turbulent world we live in. And this is where Next Generation EU comes into play. It is, as you know, our recovery plan. It's our roadmap for reshaping the continent for decades ahead. We have the European Green Deal as one priority. We have the second priority to digitalize our economies, and of course the third priority to increase our resilience. Next Generation EU is 800 billion euros focused on these priorities. So I'm very glad that today I can announce that the European Commission has given green light to Sweden's Recovery and Resilience Plan. Let me describe a little bit what's in it. It's an excellent plan. 44% of the plan will support our climate and energy priorities. Investment in electrification, decarbonization of the industry, energy efficiency and residential buildings, for example. And with reforms promoting the increased use of biofuels in the transport sector, also a very important topic. Then you dedicate significant resources to our second goal, the digital transition. You are already very good. So from a high level, you increase the digitalization, you are front runner. 20% of this plan's budget are dedicated to the digitalization. You will give a boost to maintain your leadership, of course, in this field. And I'm very glad to see that more than 460 million euros will be invested in the rollout of high-speed broadband throughout the country, and that the plan also includes significant investment in digital skills, smart technology for energy efficiency, and in more efficient and accessible public services. So the Commission's approval opens the way to the disbursement of 3.3 billion euros over the next years, and I have now the pleasure to let you know green light, and the work we've done so far does not end here, but it starts in implementing the plan. Many thanks. Thank you.
Viken Kontarsi for AFP Agency. Mrs. Prime Minister, Finland seems about to move forward and get into the process of applying for NATO membership. How do you feel this will influence Sweden's decision to follow that path? And can one imagine that both Finland's and Sweden's applications will be considered at the same time?
Well, I mean, there is a process in Finland, in the Finnish government and in the Finnish parliament, and we have very close contacts with them. We also have a process in Sweden and in the Swedish parliament and government. I mean, we have already decided in Sweden, after Russia's invasion of Ukraine, we have already decided to increase our military spending to 2% of GDP and speed up our investments. And on top of that, we have deepened our partnership with NATO. But we're now having discussions with the foreign minister and the defense ministers, with all the parties in the Swedish parliament, on making a new analysis of the security situation for Sweden right now, and what we will find is the best way forward to Sweden. Of course, we have very close contacts with Finland and with their process, since we do have a close cooperation in many areas, including in the defense area.
I got a question to President von der Leyen about sanctions. Would you accept or even welcome if Sweden stops importing gas and oil from Russia without awaiting a decision from the European Union?
I think we have been very successful in the last 44 days by being united and moving forward together as one union. After the invasion on day 2, 4, and 6, we presented the first 3 packages of sanctions. Now today it's the 5th package. Behind these packages is a tremendous, excellent work of combining the knowledge from the different member states and our goal to severely impact negatively the Russian economy and the Russian financial sector. So my plea is always that we move forward together, and it's worth really to coordinate among the member states, because then the power of the sanctions is higher and the impact is stronger.
Cool. Sorry, also got a question for Ms. von der Leyen as well on the proposed oil embargo. Is there any timeline you can give on how long the discussions are going to take? We're talking days or weeks or months?
I think we're going to be done with the discussions within hours, so today or tomorrow. Yeah.
Swedish television, a question for Mrs. von der Leyen. What course of action will the European Union take if Hungary opposes sanctions on the energy sector and tries to stop that? And Mrs. Andersson, are you ready to let Sweden go ahead with sanctions even if the rest of the European Union does not?
So far, all 27 member states stood firmly to the sanctions, and we have no indication that this is not the case for the next ones. Let me tell you that we're working already very hard on the next package of sanctions. And we continue to prepare with the member states the next step, and we're looking intensively at the moment being at oil. So to prepare to be able to phase out of oil. Another topic we're discussing right now among the member states is the demand of Putin to pay the bill in ruble. We have had a very detailed legal analysis of that decree that he issued, and we believe that this proposed ruble exchange is not only a high risk for the companies involved, but it would also be a circumvention of the existing sanctions. So you see from my description that we are constantly with the member states already now working on the next phase and really looking in depth what the best approach is to hit as hard as possible the Russian economy, but to be as coherent and coordinated as possible within the European Union.
I think that during these weeks, our unity has been a very, very strong message towards Russia. So from a Swedish perspective, we really want to work together with the other member states to move forward on the next package. And we are trying to be a very constructive partner, cooperating with the Commission to argue for further sanctions, because we are definitely willing to go forward with further sanctions from a Swedish perspective.
Here we go. Yeah.